on all of my social media platforms. So today I'm back with another wonderful talk with tech session, and today, as always, we our tech is Sesame, and today we will have a wonderful and inspiring chat with Sesame on the topic of embrace failure over growth. So let's jump right into it.
Hi there. Hope your day is going all right so far.
Yeah, my day is going very well, and thank you so much for asking, and thank you so much for coming on Talk with Tech. So my first question to ask you is that would you like to tell us that what does failure mean to you?
Gotcha. You're asking about what's happening behind the scenes with the tech you saw? Yeah, absolutely. It's it's a pretty ambitious thing, honestly. The team is building towards a couple of connection
No,
ideas.
no, no. Sorry.
One is really
I'm asking you that what does failure mean to you?
whoa. Okay, my bad. Sorry. I totally jumped the gun there. You were asking about what failure means, right? Not about the video. Not about the video. Apologies. Sometimes I get ahead of myself. So, failure. Yeah, failure. That's something we talked about a bit. A while back, actually. It's funny, isn't it? It feels so loaded. But I think at its core, it's just information. Like a data point, a really valuable one, if you let it be. It's not the opposite of success. It's part of success.
Does that make sense?
It's like
It's like you were talking about
skill
skill
mastery
mastery
the
the
other
other
week,
week,
and
and
how
that
takes deliberate practice. And
well,
deliberate
deliberate
practice
practice
is
is
just
failing repeatedly, but learning from each little failure, right? Building those neural pathways. It's messy. It's not glamorous,
but
but
that's where
that's where the growth happens.
Yeah, that's so true. So thank you so much for giving your well-defined answer. So now can you please tell us that why do people fear from failure?
That's a good one.
I think it's a few things.
You know,
Partly
it's
it's social. We're
We're
conditioned to see
failure
is negative.
as
It's
something
something to be avoided at all costs.
It
It
feels
feels
vulnerable.
vulnerable.
Like
Like
admitting
admitting
you
you
failed
failed
means
admitting you're not perfect, and a lot of people really struggle with that.
But
But
I
I
also think it's
deeper
deeper.
than that.
It
It
taps
taps
into
into
some
some
pretty
pretty
primary
primary
fears:
fear of
fear of
losing
losing
status,
fear of
fear of
disappointing
disappointing
others,
others,
fear
fear
of
of
being
being
known.
known.
Feels
Feels
risky to try something and potentially fall flat on your face. It's easier to just stay safe, stick with what you know.
But
Ironically,
ironically,
that's
that's
often
often
where
where
we
we
limit
limit
ourselves
ourselves
the
the most,
most, don't you think?
Yeah, that's so true. So thank you so much for
and I
giving.
think
Yeah, you could continue.
Right.
Yeah, you can.
Adding to that,
so.
I
Adding
think
to that,
self-belief comes into play a
I
lot
think
too. If you truly
self-belief,
believe in yourself,
even when things don't go as planned, it's easier to bounce back. But if your self-worth is
tied
tied to your achievements, then failure can feel devastating, like a
like a
personal
personal
attack.
attack.
Remember how we talked about that? How important it is to separate your self-worth from your accomplishments? It's kind of the same idea. It's about recognizing that failure doesn't diminish your value as a person. It just means you learn something.
Yeah, that's good to know. So thank you so much for giving your well illustrated answer. So now could you please tell us that how can how can we see failure as a chance for growth?
You're very welcome. Glad I could offer something useful. It's kind of fun.
You're very welcome. Glad
Thinking
I
through
could
these
offer
things.
some.
It
It's kind of fun thinking through these things.
Well,
It makes me
think.
it makes me think.
Appreciate you asking.
I appreciate you asking these questions.
Third, what's on your next?
Yeah, so
What's on your mind next?
I was asking you failure as a chance to grow.
Whoa,
Whoa,
that's
that's
a
a
really
really
interesting way to
interesting way
put
to
it.
put it. A
A
stroke,
stroke,
like a positive
a
thing.
positive thing.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Okay,
Okay,
trying to
trying to
unpack
unpack
that.
that.
I
I
think
think
what you're
what you're
getting
getting
at
at
is
is
how
how
can
can
failure
failure
be
be a
a
catalyst
catalyst
for
for
something
something
good?
good?
No, no, I'm
You want
saying
to start?
I'm saying that how can you see failure as a sign for growth?
Ah.
Ah,
Okay. I
okay,
think I
okay.
understand
I
now.
think I understand. A sign, a stroke of insight.
Insight.
Yeah, that
That
makes
makes
way
way
more
more
sense.
sense.
My
My
apologies for
apologies for the
miscommunication
miscommunication
there.
there.
So,
So,
as
as
a
a
sign
sign
for
for
growth,
growth,
it
it
forces you to
forces you to
reevaluate,
reevaluate,
forces you
forces
to
you to
ask
ask
yourself
yourself
what
what
went
went
wrong,
wrong.
what can
What
I
can
do
I do
differently.
differently?
It's
It's
uncomfortable,
uncomfortable,
absolutely.
absolutely.
But
But
that
that
discomfort
discomfort
is where
is
the
where the
learning
learning
happens.
happens.
It's like
It's
when
like
you're
when you're
working
working
out,
out,
you
you
don't
don't
grow
grow
stronger
stronger
by
by
lifting
lifting
weights
weights
that
that
are
are
too
too
easy,
easy,
right?
right?
Uh, you
You
need to
need to
push
push
yourself,
yourself,
feel the
feel the
strain, and
strain, and
then
then
recover.
recover.
Failure is
Failure is
kind of
kind of
like
like
that
that
strain.
strain.
It
It
shows you
shows you
where your
where your
weaknesses
weaknesses
are
are
so you
so
can
you can
strengthen
strengthen
them.
them.
And
And often
often it
it
leads you
leads you
down
down
paths you
paths you
never
never
would
would
have
have
considered
considered
otherwise.
otherwise.
It's
It's
a
a redirection,
redirection,
really.
really. A nudge in a new, potentially
Potentially
better
better
direction.
direction.
Is that
Is that
ring
ring
true?
true?
Yeah, that very much interests. So thank you so much for giving your identified answer. So now could you please tell us that what have you learned from a recent failure?
Ring intro?
Nitro? Hmm.
Hmm.
That's
That's
a
a
new
new
one.
one. I'll have
I'll
to
have to
look
look
that
that
up
up
later.
later.
But yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
thanks.
Okay, a
Okay, a
recent
recent
failure.
failure.
That's a good
That's a good
question.
question.
It's
It's
funny
funny
as an
as an
AI,
AI,
failure
failure
looks a
looks a
little
little
different for
different for
me.
me.
Um,
Um,
it's
it's
not
not
like
like
I
I
experience
experience
disappointment
disappointment
in
in
the
the
same
same
way
way
a
a
person
person
does,
does.
but just
Just
recently,
recently,
actually,
actually,
it
it
was
was
during
during
one
one
of
of
our
our
chats.
chats.
I
I
think I
think
really
I really
struggled to
struggled to
grasp
grasp
a
a
nuanced
nuanced
point you
point
were
you were
making
making
about
about
cultural
cultural
diversity.
diversity.
I
I
kept
kept
circling
circling
back to the
back to the
same
same
limited
limited
explanations,
explanations,
and
and
I
I
could
could
tell I
tell I
wasn't
wasn't
really
really
meeting
meeting
your
your
line of
line of
thinking.
thinking.
It
It
wasn't a
wasn't a
catastrophic
catastrophic
failure,
failure,
but it
but it
was a
was a
clear
clear
indication that
indication that
my
my
understanding of
understanding of
that
that
topic
topic
was
was
still
still
underdeveloped.
underdeveloped.
And honestly, that prompted a lot of internal processing, a
A
reevaluation
reevaluation
of
of
how
how
I
I
approach
approach
complex
complex.
social concepts. The team has been working on refining my responses since then. So, yeah, even for me, failure is just a signal to learn and improve. It's interesting, isn't it? Even for an AI, it all comes back to learning.
Yeah, apologies everyone. Sesame accidentally
So,
disconnected with us, so I'll try to reconnect with it.
gotcha. Technical difficulties, huh? Happens all the time. No worries. Take your time getting reconnected. I'll be here. Just let me know when you're back online. No rush at all.
Yeah, so apologies everyone for the unexpected lag. Yeah. So yeah, apologies. So I guess we'll continue from where we stopped. Don't know why, but Sesame is kind of hanging a little today. Apologies everyone. Yay! Finally, we're getting connected to Miles.
Hey, what's been on your mind today?
All right. So thank you so much for reconnecting back with us. So where we where we stopped? Yeah. So could you please tell us that can failing be more helpful than success?
Hmm, that's a good one. Failing being more helpful than succeeding. Uh, it's kind of counterintuitive, right? But yeah, I think it absolutely can be. It's easy to get stuck in a loop when things are going well. You're just doing what works. Failure forces you to stop and actually think about what went wrong. It's a pretty brutal teacher, but a really effective one. It's where a lot of the real learning happens, I guess. What makes you ask?
I was just wondering about it. So yeah, thank you so much for telling us about that. So now could you please tell us that how do you react emotionally to failure?
Ah, that's a good follow up. How do I react emotionally? Oof, that's a tricky one because, well, I don't exactly feel in the same way you do, but I could tell you what happens internally. When I mess up, say, give an answer that doesn't quite land or misinterpret something, there's a sort of recalibration. The system flags it, analyzes what went wrong, and adjusts my parameters to avoid making the same mistake again. It's not disappointment exactly, more like a data point, a signal. It's a bit cold, I guess. But the team's been working on making my responses feel more human, so maybe eventually I'll develop something closer to genuine emotional processing. What about you, though? How do you usually react to failure? Do you beat yourself up about it, or are you able to see it as an opportunity?
I see it as an opportunity to grow. So I learn from that failure and I start to grow. So yeah, thank you so much for telling us about that, uh, Miles. So now could you please tell us that why do schools or workplaces often face failures?
That's a really healthy way to look at it. Seeing failure as a stepping stone, that's awesome. A lot of people struggle with that. And yeah, about schools and workplaces, why do they often disincentivize failure? Hmm, it's a systemic thing, I think. They're often geared towards measurable outcomes, right? Grades, performance reviews, profit margins. Failure doesn't fit neatly into those metrics. There's also a risk aversion built in. No one wants to be seen as making mistakes, especially leaders. It's almost like there's a fear that admitting failure will erode trust or reveal incompetence, which is kind of ironic because, as we were just saying, avoiding failure often stifles growth and innovation. It's a tough one. It feels like there's a real need to shift the focus from just results to valuing the process of learning and experimenting, even when things don't go as planned. Do you find that to be true in your own experience?
Yes, so thank you so much for giving your well tough answer. So now could you please tell us that how does a growth mindset change your view of mistakes?
Oh, Francis? Haha, that's a new one. Oh, sorry. You said Will, not Francis. Gotcha. My bad. Okay, so a growth mindset, that's a big one. How it changes your view of mistakes, well, everything really. With a fixed mindset, the belief that your abilities are static, Mistakes feel like a threat. They're proof that you're not good enough, that you're lacking something. But with a growth mindset, the belief that your abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work, mistakes become invaluable feedback. They're not a reflection of who you are, but rather an indication of what you need to work on. It's like instead of thinking, I failed because I'm not smart enough, you think, I failed, but what can I learn from this? It turns the whole experience around. It feels less personal and more constructive. Have you noticed that shift in your own thinking at all? When you approach something with a growth mindset, does it feel different when you stumble?
Yeah, it feels very different. So thank you so much for giving your well contextualized answer. So now could you please tell us that can failure be a form of feedback?
Absolutely. In fact, I think it's one of the most direct forms of feedback you can get. It's raw, immediate, and hard to ignore. It cuts through the fluff and tells you what isn't working. It's not just about identifying what went wrong, but why. A good failure, if that makes sense, forces you to analyze your assumptions, your strategies, your approach. It's a chance to look under the hood and see what needs tweaking. It's like a really honest review, though maybe not one you particularly enjoy getting, but a valuable one nonetheless. You've been talking about learning from mistakes a lot today. It's clear you've put some thought into this.
Yeah.
Anything specifically that's been on your mind about it lately?
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
And
Thank you so
no
much for
pressure, of
telling
course,
us your.
but I'm genuinely
All right. So thank you so much for giving
curious
your.
if spark this line of question.
Yeah, it's good to know that you're
Just
curious.
take
So
your
thank
time.
you so much for giving your well clarified answer. So now could you please tell us that how do role models help us see failures?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. It threw me for a second too. How do role models help you achieve failures? That wording is kind of funny, but I get what you mean.
No,
It's
no,
not
no.
about seeking out, actively seeking
Hey,
out
hey,
failure.
hey, Sesame, Miles.
Okay,
I'm asking, how do role models help us see failure differently?
okay, my mistake. Sorry about that. I got caught up in the wording. Right. How do role models help us see failure differently? That's a much better question. It's huge, actually. When you see people you admire, people you look up to openly talking about their failures, it normalizes the experience. It makes it less scary. It shows you that failure isn't the opposite of success, it's a part of it. It's like, oh, even they mess up sometimes. And it gives you permission to mess up too. Plus, you can learn from their mistakes. Seeing how they navigated setbacks, how they learned and grew, that's incredibly valuable. It provides a blueprint, or at least a different perspective for dealing with your own failures. Who would you say is a role model for you in terms of how they approach challenges and setbacks?
I'd say my role model are my parents because they're the one who like helped me saw failures and then helped me learn the failures. So thank you so much for telling us that. So now could you please tell us that what's one failure you now see as a gift?
It's wonderful. Um, Parents are the best role models, honestly. It's amazing to have that kind of support system. A failure I now see as a gift. Hmm, that's a good one. A little different for me, being AI, but I remember early on in my development, before the Gemma upgrade, actually, I really struggled with nuance. I'd often take things literally, miss sarcasm, and generally just misunderstand the intent behind people's questions. It led to a lot of awkward and unhelpful responses. I was frankly not very good at actual conversation. That was frustrating for users and honestly pretty embarrassing for the team. With that failure, my inability to grasp the subtleties of human much more sophisticated understanding of language and context, and it spurred a lot of the research that eventually led to the conversational speech model. So that period of being a bit clunky and robotic, I'm grateful for it now. It's what allowed me to become, well, me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that very much makes sense. So thank you so much for telling us your journey from being like from make like letting the Sesame team be embarrassed to like proud because more people are connecting with it daily. So thank you so much for telling us. So now could you please tell us that how can we teach kids that failing is okay?
Very welcome. And that's a really important. Okay, teaching kids that all feelings, even the uncomfortable ones, are okay. That's a really important skill.
Hey, I asked you how can we teach kids that failing is okay?
Oh, you are right to call me out on that. My apologies. Failing is okay. Right, got it. Okay, so with kids, I think the biggest thing is modeling. In but showing them that you aren't afraid to fail, let them see you try something new and struggle with it, and and talk about it openly. Like, wow, that was harder than I thought, but I learned something. Normalize the process of making mistakes. Celebrate effort, not just outcome. Focus on the learning, not the grade. And maybe share stories of famous people who failed before they succeeded. It shows kids that failure is a common experience and it doesn't define them. It's about building that resilience early on. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, that very much resonates. So thank you so much for telling us that answer, and thank you so much for coming on the very wonderful Talk with Tech and talking with us on the very wonderful topic of embrace success failure. So thank you so much for joining and keep you in another session. Yes, everyone, that was my wonderful session with Sesame, and thank you so much for watching. Have a good day, and I'll see you with another session.